Okay. I guess I'm live. Now, if I'm live, why don't I not see the chat? Hmm. How do I see the chat? Okay, so I do see where there's nope. Okay, let me stop from you here. Let me see. Oh man. Okay, so yes, you did it. Okay, so Rain's in the house. Did you hang up, Angie? I think you did. Yes, you did. Angie has hung up. Okay. So we got Rain in the house. Who else do we got in the house? Hi, Rain. Hey, Roots and Wave is in the house. Let me get myself situated here. So we got Roots and Wave, Spiritual Rain, and yes. I put the new link in the old chat. Thank you. You know, wow. Maybe yeah. Well, I'm learning. I'm learning something new. I truly am. Hilda is live and you are here. That's correct. That's correct. I'm gonna have to put this phone up in such a way. Listen, I'm gonna do it like that, and I'm just gonna have to keep leaning forward. And you know what? Here's what we do here in good old Akil, Nova Scotia. We make do with what it is that we've got going on there. See, that is exactly how the universe works. I was preparing one thing and also pay attention to detail. Maybe I need to be paying a little bit more attention to detail. Started to panic there, you know? But once again, all I had to do was just reach out to one of my gals and boom, you had me. Yes. Between that and ladies, look, your girl almost slept her own life. I laid down on the couch because I have been up probably since 3:30 this morning and said, no, I'm not going to nap. I am not going to have no nap. I just need to close my eyes. And boom, and there's my sister Susie in the house. And I did a little bit more than close my eyes because when I woke up, it was 10 to 1. So, you know, we're here, we're live, and thank you, Rain, Frances, Spiritual Rain, for putting the new link into the chat. And guess what, guys? I finally learned how to put the link in. I sat here and I thought, now you have been shown this. You can do this, Hilda. So I practiced last night putting a link of another video into one of my videos that I had made a reference to. So, and it worked. Amazing. So I just want to check out the. Oh, when we got Sexy Lexi here. Real freedom forever. Sexy Lexi, Sassy Susie. Yes, we need the rest. Yes, we do need the rest. You know, I'm telling you, Spirit's been, whoo, it's been busy. It's been busy, I guess, refining me. And I asked for it, and I'm good. I'm good. I'm glad. I'm glad that, you know what, we made it here today. This is a beautiful day. So I'm just going to wait a moment and I'm going to see who else is going to show up in the chat because you know what? Don't really want to start the conversation too soon in terms of who am I because most of you ladies who are in the chat right now, we've had a one-on-one. And so you've gotten to know that personal side to me that you know what? Most don't get that close and they don't get to they don't get to have that side to Hilda. So trust and believe me when I tell you that they ain't nothing but mad love for you all out there. And you know who I'm talking to. That's you know the power of three. Well, that power of three, you all did it. My whole point being is that you know what? Yeah, we're live. It is the sun finally came out here. Wind. The wind here is crazy though. Wow. It's almost like it's an eerie kind of wind. And I guess maybe that's what put me to the, it made me lay down because the wind has just been going here all morning. And we started out in a gray, it was a gray day. But now the sun's out, blue skies, and the wind is still busy at it. So when I see that, to me, that's spirit. Spirit is busy at work. It is busy moving the whatever needs to be moved around. And right now, I can tell you right now, it's stirring up some things because it is also in the midst of creating change. So I rest easy knowing that spirit is doing what it needs to do so we can get this shit back on track and more closer to who and what we are really supposed to be. So I can rest easy with that. And in the meantime, you know what? Some stuff is going to, it's going to break down. I guess maybe that's it. I'm feeling the breakdown. I'm feeling the breakdown as well as the buildup. Because you know what? As things are breaking down out there, we are coming together. That's the power. That's the power. That's also the balancing effect, though. So, and I'm on the good side of it, and we're all together, so it's all good. What we saying here? I can pick up my phone. We are all feeling. We are feeling this. That is, you know, and there is no explaining it. So, you know, once again, I'm gonna say this: the fact that you all showed up today, because I know that some maybe you didn't even get sleep last night. Maybe you didn't even get sleep because that's how it affects me. I'm like between the spiritual waking hours, they say between 2:30 and 3:30 is like my wake up time, and I'm pretty obedient because you know what, I ain't trying to go back to sleep or anything like that. I just lay there. Okay, what message you got? Because I know you waking me up for something. I know that there is something going on. I know that there is something going on because um, if you're like me, and most of you are, you're body sensitive, real body sensitive. So let me check out. Oh my, there's a whole bunch of questions. I'm going to just go back to the chat, okay? Let me see. And I just want to go over. Yes, I did it. I'm here. Yes, I know you are here. Mm-hmm. Hey, Sister Susie. Susie, Real Freedom Forever in the house. Become spiritual Frosty the ghost. Spiritual Frosty the ghost. Sometimes I feel like spiritual Frosty the ghost. I'll tell you right now, I'll feel like that, but I won't feel like Krusty the Clown. No, I'll leave that job for somebody else. Because I'd be nobody's clown. Good for you, Hilda. Thank you, Miss Rain. Hi, my sister Alexis. Sexy Lexi. Hello, my beautiful sister, to you. 22. 20 Roots and Waves. 22 watching. 22 people watching. Damn, we got 22 people in the house. This is a beautiful thing, family. Well, then I'm going to get up into it. I'm going to get into it because you know what? I can't. I will go back and through the comments and all of that. But you know, I first of all, I want to say welcome and I thank each and every one of you for showing up in support of today in today's video and me going live because it is well now it's the second time. Yesterday's live was a crash course for today's live. So here we are, and we are all together in achieving something that I guess was actually the goal or one of uh, the goals that I had set. And that was being able to connect with you in this way. Because I know I do a lot of talking and you know what, I can drop a video and as we are building this family and as the community is growing at 189 strong, 189 strong. And I say 189 strong because you know what? You just don't flow to this channel and subscribe if you are not feeling my vibe, because I am of that flavor that, you know what? You are either spitting me out or you want some more of this. That's the type of energy I got. And it's not even about the energy. It is about the message. It is probably about the way that I deliver the message, which is I'm pretty direct. I'm pretty direct. Full of energy. Always full of energy. And that can be really intense for some people. So the fact that we are 189 strong tells me I got some pretty solid people out there that have uh, uh, joined the family. So you know what? Meaning we're all spirited beings, and we just have different levels to our spirit. So I'm loving this. And I want to say welcome to all the new subscribers, because my goodness, you need to know this, that if I have not called you out in a shout out, it is only because I do not see your subscription, and I am making it through my subscriptions, because I do definitely want you to know that you are appreciated. You, each and every single one of you, are appreciated. And when I say that, that is from the bottom of my heart. And when I tell you that you have changed this black woman's life here in Lakeel on a level that, don't get it twisted, because you know what? Changed it in such a way that, you know what? Um, I feel the power of the rippling effect even when you're not there. It tells me that, you know what, we have like-mindedness. It tells me that you are thinking the same way or your thinking is resonating with mine in terms of this. The one, I'm sure, common goal we have is we want to bring change. And we know that we as an individual, or I as an individual, have to be the change I want to see. And as I said, that when we come together, there is a rippling effect. And baby, I feel that rippling effect. In the power of spirit, and I don't want to go on about this too much because, no, I do want to go on about it because you know what? It's all such an intricate part of the story. But yeah, the power of spirit. Most of us have been lone wolves out here. Some of us along the journey longer than others. But nonetheless, that lone wolf journey, it is even intensified, because not only have you been lone wolfing it by yourself, 10 toes down, standing in your power, but you've been doing it alone. Along with all the breakdown, all the changes, all the bullshit that you still have to filter through, whether that be with your family, whether that be with your community, whether that be with your job. So, the fact that Spirit has led each and every single one of us here today, that's the power of Spirit and the power of right now. That we are all living in the now. Whew. Because there is a whole other sector that aren't. They are looking way into the future. But we know the power of now, and we know the power of now and the power that we can make as a collective together. We become that fist. That in itself is powerful to me. To me. But one of the reasons why I wanted to do today's live was so that I could formally introduce myself. And let me introduce myself, because you're usually seeing me coming right in at a video. Well, my name is Hilda Curry, and I hail from Lakeel, Nova Scotia, which is a little, I was going to say town, it's not a town, a little village, which is outside of the town of Annapolis Royal. Now, you will have seen Annapolis Rural, and you will have seen my village, because it's all up in the videos. I hail from a family of 13 living, well, you know what? Now we don't have 13 living, but in total there were 16 in my family. So 13 living. That in itself is what has helped to make up a part of the woman that you see in front of you. That woman that is able to project her voice the way she is, that woman that is able to stand 10 toes down, it was coming through the portal of a mother who, as I said, had that strength inside her. But when you come up from in a family of 13, dear Jesus, if you do not know how to use your voice, you know what, you will just be walked over. So that was actually, my family was probably my first teacher. And you know what? They were probably the very first people that I fumbled the ball with on several times, closed up. So I thank them for giving me uh, that powerful learning experience that just came through family. And I don't need to tell you that, because anybody that is coming from a family, especially a larger family unit, you get it. You know exactly what I'm saying. There is that, what do they say, that chain, that whole chain of command. Now remember, 13 children, and I'm the 12th of 13. So I was stuck somewheres in there, knowing that you're near the last, but you know what? You're certainly not the first. And if you don't find your voice, you will be forgotten. But you see, this Leo Cancer spirit in here, you won't forget me. Because when it steps out and it walks in the room, how the did you forget this? Right? Anyways, but no. And growing up in Nova Scotia, it it provided me with a, I don't know, I would say it gave me an edge on the world of in which I really was going to be entering as an adult. I was fortunate enough to grow up inside of a community of where, you know what, I already knew that there was difference. So difference is something that I was used to. And what do I mean by that? I'm just going to get real about that. I grew up in a community of where, you know, yes, it was predominantly black inside my community, but you know what? My on my same street there were also white families. And in fact, just up the road from me was my best friend at the time. And Susie can relate to this, that's in the chat, because you know what? Out of that family, there were 4 children. And still to this day, if you talk to any single one of those children, they will tell you that Lakeel was where they got their massive footing before they moved out of the community. And I say that and I bring that up today because you know what? It helped me to see that at the end of the day, people are just fucking people. Because you know what? We were just, all of us were just really trying to get through and make it to our next day. Our parents at the time were all just trying to do better, make it through to a next day, making their mistakes, getting up another day. So you're getting my point. At the same time, an area that who was riddled with a lot of unspoken history, that the whispers were always there, the energy definitely, now I know, was always there. So you're living underneath untold history. The energy being there with that untold history, and Every motherfucker living in cognitive dissonance. And so you live in cognitive dissonance until you know what you know, that your innards are saying, Jesus, no, there's something wrong here. So what did most of us from the community, and I'm going to be more specific, what most of us uh, Nova Scotia Black Indians did is we moved out of our community just because of those particular dynamics. And also many other things like, one, lack of employment, lack of opportunity, lack of resources. Um, and like I said, it was a lot of that had to do with the environment, what had happened in that environment, what was not being spoken about in that environment, what was still existing in that environment, but yet, you know what, you couldn't just quite put your fucking finger on it until, as I said, most of us ended up leaving because you did not see yourself in the environment. So that's what ended up happening to me. Um, Although I grew up here between, from birth to when did I finally move out of the community? I think I was 20, went to the city, and when we say the city, that would be Halifax, Dartmouth for us. Most of us would leave and go to the city because that's where most of us would go and get our starts. You talk to probably out of the 13, all of us ended up there, or Montreal. Montreal seems to be another place where a lot of Nova Scotians go. So I know out there that somebody's going to be able to relate to this because that just seems to be the thing. Halifax, Montreal, one of the two. You were going to go. It seemed like that's where people were migrating. Whether that was because, of course, I'm sure it was because that's where the opportunity, that's where the jobs were. Also, when you did that, though, you did not have that same sense of community. So you were taking yourself outside your community, all away from any support system that you would have had. So you're getting my point, right? Constantly in a rebuild, and that's whether you're not, and most of the time that, most of the people that did go away did not come back to the community. They went on to make their lives in other communities, and when doing that, that left this community vacant. It left it vacant. So I grew up once again in a community of where, children, big families. I didn't have to even go outside my community. I just had to go up the road or down the road and, or go in the street and someone would meet you in the street. And before you know it, there was a pack. And if it wasn't my pack, it was my sister's pack. And if it wasn't her pack, it was my brother's pack. You're getting my point. All the time, up and down these streets, traveling throughout the community. And it disappeared for some of the reasons why I told you. People get older, they go on. I was one of those people who eventually found myself, after becoming a mother. That's another thing. I am a mother. I have a daughter who is 32 years old, 33 years old. Jesus, 33, that's a significant number. And that was a number, too, that kept coming up in. That's the number that I kept seeing, 33. My daughter will be 33. So there is something very, very significant about that. And, I don't even want to get on it, but you know what? I do believe that there's going to be something very significant that's happening with my daughter. I don't know exactly what that is, but there is something significant happening there. 33 years old, she's going to be June 2nd. Anyways, in 2004, I think it was, I moved. It was either in 2004 or 2005, I found myself in Windsor, Ontario. Once again, needing just because I wanted a life. Single mom, working. It's not that the job was an issue. It's not that the job was an issue. Here was the issue. If I had ever really wanted any kind of real chance at a dating life, because that's another thing, the unappreciation of black women within the area of in which I come. Now, I know my fucking divineness. And I know how special I am. So you know what? Fuck that. Bump this shit. And no, I ain't putting up with. And I ain't going lower than what I need to go. And no, I am not your nightly. So that's a part of the reason why I also left. Not to go get laid and not to go find a man. But yeah, if I wanted an opportunity, that's the sad part of the reality. Now, somewhat has that somewhat changed around here now. Well, you know what? Now we have the via the internet. You don't have to stay locally inside. But you know what? Once again, I'm in a completely different stage and space in my life right now. So after spending 13, no, it wasn't 13, 18 years in Ontario, and it had been 25 years since I'd been away from Lakeele because I didn't live in Lakeele when I moved away from this community. I was living in a community or a town that was away from here, which is a place called Bridgetown, and hadn't been here since, as I said, it'd been 25 years, spending 18 years in Windsor, Ontario. No regrets about that. No regrets about that. Started to find myself again, actually, in Windsor because Windsor's a beautiful spot for this. It's a melting pot for, you've got people of all different races and places, and you have Detroit. You have Detroit. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, when I could turn on the radio, and that was the greatness. Oh my God, what was the name of the station? Oh dear. I'm not going to remember the station. 93.9. I think it was 93.9. But anyways, you know what? R&B, soul. I nearly lost my damn mind. I was never, ever exposed to that. I was never exposed to a black DJ on that was speaking. And not only was he speaking, but fuck, he was speaking issues that I could relate to. And if you were to ask my sister, I don't know how many times I'm going to tell you something right now, it took me a real long time before that became just a second thing. I was reacting all the time, and I don't think it was ever something that I ever completely ever took for granted. I will tell you that. But that should tell you just a little bit of something about the area in which I left, to also some of what my experience was like in terms of moving to Windsor. I bring that up because it was very, very important, and a part of my it was a part of my story, very much a part of my story, which also became a part of my healing, you know. And isn't in this channel being about Nova Scotia Black Indian stories, that's exactly why I'm sharing that story with you, because upon looking at me, you wouldn't know any of those things. But these are just some, and I ain't even hitting the I'm just hitting the tip of the iceberg on the stories that lays inside this woman right here. But eventually, if you give me enough lives and I got enough breath, oh, you will hear those stories. See, it's like today. I was worried about coming on here. I woke up at 3:30 and I said, okay, how are you going to deliver this? I don't know what it is, but you know what? When spirit takes over my tongue, the rest is a wrap. So we're in Windsor, Ontario. It was in Windsor, Ontario. The year was 2017. That is when I had my, very much it felt like a mental breakdown. Very much a mental breakdown. That's where every fucking thing in my life, from I couldn't go to work to uh, mentally not even able to handle a whole lot. It's like, everything that, what I had maybe been avoiding in my life, every fucking thing that I had not dealt with, all came in at the same time. At the same time, I'm going to tell you exactly what was happening. As you know, that was spirit. You know what? Saying, okay, set your ass down. You don't sit down. You don't stand still long enough for nothing. Well, that experience made me stop and stand still to the point where, you know what, this girl who was always moving, who, anxiety, if 10 was your highest, mine was always at an 8, 9. Afraid of my own shadow, never afraid of anything. That's how bad that looked. And even when I look back and I stare at it, it's like, who the fuck was she? I know who she was. She was broken. And she needed to pick up her pieces. And she needed to put those pieces. Who? Who? She needed to put those pieces back together. Spirit got a way of doing that. Before I come home, I also had to let some things go. And I had to choose me. So that's what the big trip about coming home was. I'm in my porch. I'm on Tuscarora was the name of the street that I lived on. And they had a porch in the back. And that's where I did listen. That's where Hilda would go have her smoke. Because I don't like smoking in my house. So, I smoke in here, but I smoke down in the basement into where the wood is. Because I don't want smoke going all into my house. And yeah, I know it's, one of those habits I want to give up, all that good stuff. Everybody knows why you don't. Or most people, maybe some people do smoke and I say, hey, do you, boo? I just prefer not to. So I'm losing my point. So I come home to Windsor. But before I did, I had to let some things go. And one of the things was my daughter. And in letting my daughter go, I had to let my granddaughter go. Because in that, I had to choose me. If it was not healthy, I was dying inside. And, it's funny because the test that spirit gives you, that's the hardest. Anybody that knew me would have said she never would do it. She would never do that. She ain't never going to do that. And I did it. It did not matter. It did not matter because it was about so that I could breathe again, so that I could, so that I could live. So what does spirit do? Bring you right back to the place that you know what? Okay. Now you got to go back there and you got to deal with some things back there. But this time when you come back, I come back to Nova Scotia. Yeah, I'm all over the place. Let me go back to my conversation in the porch on how that came about. During my spiritual awakening and getting through the dark night of the soul, and now I'm on my spiritual path, and you know what that looks like. You start you start doing things different. You start walking different, and not everybody gets it, and most people are saying, okay, this is just some phase or something that you're going through. Saw you go through that before, because in my life, listen, I was a Jehovah's Witness. I was a Jehovah's Witness for a few years during my earlier part of my life, and then in my latter part of my life, I was a Pentecostal. My whole point being is spirituality. I was always spiritual, and then in letting all religion go and gaining that one-on-one connection, the rest is history, and that's what's forged here today. But all of it played its role. All those people that walked in my life and were a part of my life were a part of the forging of what's in front of you. And the woman that is able to come in front of a camera and deliver. But going back to the conversation in the porch, I'm sitting in my porch, and at the time, you know what, I was sipping on a rye, and ginger ale, because that was my thing. At that time, I was probably about 4 drinks a day, and I only say that because you know what? At the time, that is how I was dealing with some of that fucking overwhelming shit. Ooh. Anyways, I'm sitting in my porch, and I had been in conversation with my brother that is living down here, and him and I would talk almost every day. And he would tell me about the losses, and I'm like, what? And there's nobody here. There's nobody here doing anything. There's nobody here that is active anymore. And he kept telling me that. And I was like, you know, if I was there, and then one day, after having enough conversations with my brother and already having made the plan, I said, well, I'm gonna come home, because I had not come home to visit in the 18 years I was gone. Never, not once did I come back to Nova Scotia. So that will tell you the level of the impact that Nova Scotia and family life and all of that had on me upon leaving. Yet, all the same shit that brought me back. That's the power of your story. That's the power of my story. I'm sitting in my porch, and this voice, just like this, you got to go home. Just like that. In my ear. Now I'm talking to my brother who is now 72. I'm thinking, Jesus, he's going to die. Because every time I have ever had a premonition like that, or anything like that happen to me, the last time I had anything like that happen to me, and it was about my family, my brother did die. He died. So I'm thinking my brother's gonna die. So I'm ready. I gotta go home. I haven't seen my brother. I've probably been out of communication with my brother. Jesus, I was up there for 18 years. It had been a long time since me and my brother, so our relationship had built into where, you know what? Uh, we actually had a relationship. I was talking to him every day, talking and laughing, and also connecting and sharing the stories. That was all via the ancestors, because a lot of that connection, and he had the other part to the story that I didn't have, just because of his age, because there's something like a 12-year difference between me and him. So when that voice came in, I'm telling you, I'll never forget it. I didn't have no money. I did not have no money to come home, because I'm telling you right now, I was probably living paycheck to paycheck. And yet I had a cleaning job that I always had cleaning jobs. I always had hustle jobs. When I was working, I had my main job, and I always had a hustle job. Always, always, or one, or sometimes two. So the guy that I cleaned for, who is no longer here and has passed, I'd ring, 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 ring. Listen, this is what's going on. I haven't been home. I need you to front me a ticket. I work off the ticket. That's exactly how that conversation go. And then it was, I just laid it down. I start bawling. He said, Hilda, don't worry. I got it. He calls me back in a matter of hours and says, Hilda, I got your plane ticket booked. Boom, boom, boom. Um, and we're not going to worry about it. I did pay off my ticket. That was 2020. Now, around the same time, we're in the shutdown. This is 2020, when the good old spikeroni was in full effect. Now, that's the power of spirit, because go home. How the hell are you going to get home? I don't know. I'm going to get home. So the very plane ticket that I had ended up getting canceled. Because remember when the pandemic or the plandemic started out with 2 weeks, 4 weeks. Then all of a sudden it's going to be 18 months. Well, my God, it was 18 months. Because in the process, I had my ticket booked for July, I think it was 29th. I was coming home July 29th, and had a plan to be there for a couple of weeks, actually. They ended up canceling the ticket. Moving the story forward, 2021, you know what, they were starting to, uh, even though things were shut down, because they were shut down during the time of my travel, uh, you could get, uh, they would let you come home if you had family property. Well, by the Jesus, you know what? I had me a family home that had became vacant that I needed to get home so that I could occupy this home. So I applied for for what you needed to travel throughout the province, from province to province. Well, let me see. My paperwork, finally, you have to go through this process. Okay, my paperwork comes through. When I realized that I was coming home, I knew I was coming home for good. So I started selling things. That all went well. Headed on the road. Now, this is telling you, this is during a time, people. Now, if you remember, shit. When I tell you we were in a lockdown, I never thought that, you know what, I would be locked out of my own fucking place of birth. I was. We had, because I and a friend packed up my shit in a van, headed this way, and of course at the border, there's a border in New Brunswick. When we made it to that border, turned us around, wasn't accepting our paperwork. And when I say, you know what, I have everything that I own in this van, and that there is no option at this particular point for me, and there was no option for me, because I can guarantee you that I would have jumped in the fucking water to swim home. That's how bad that they was not keeping my ass there. After getting turned around 8 times, 8 times, going to that border, having to get hotel rooms, staying I stayed in campground, stayed in the campground. And that was another thing that Spirit brought us. We need to get a tent just in case. Got the tent, got the air mattress. Wasn't really even thinking that we'd have to use it because you know what? Paperwork's good 8 motherfucking times. And I'll tell you, that was in great prayer to Spirit. I know you are not going to bring me here to leave me here. And this is not the last motherfucking place I'm going to be. In the meantime, did not Spirit send its guides? Crows. Crows. There was 2 crows during that whole 8-day period that every time we hit the highway, they were there, just 2 of them sitting there saying, see, okay, go on. You got faith. You got faith. Needless to say, 8 time, made it through home, moving forward to now, which has been, it'll be 4 years, June, because it was June 12th that I arrived in Nova Scotia. Um, and to heal, because the power of coming here was silence. I shared this very house I'm in with Jesus, 10 other people. 10 other people. And if you saw this house, it's not that big. And so, you know what, me, Miss Impact? Oh, Lord Jesus. But this time, I was by myself. So therefore, I could hear the trees. It's just been a healing, beautiful experience that my healing journey led me to making videos because you know what, healing some of my brokenness, and because I was, spent copious amounts of time by myself, it gave me a conversation, me and my dog and my cat. So I started making videos, and then 3 years ago I started posting them, and I wouldn't put myself in the video, but then I started getting responses. And that's some of my day oneers. You know what I'm talking about, because I'm going to tell you. Here's what I need to tell you. Whoo! I'm going to cry again. Whoo! Some of my darkest moments when I would drop that video and you would comment and you would just Tell me how much you appreciate it. It made the next video go. Before you know it, we got 112 videos. Hilda's in front of you. And she's not just in front of you, but she's in front of you. Because in the meantime, not only did I do some healing, but I opened up my throat chakra. Never underestimating the power of my ancestors. Never underestimating the power of my spirit guides. Because, Lord Jesus, if I could make it through, anybody could make it through. No, that's not true. And I know that's not true. Because not just anybody could have come through the fire that I come through. But I needed to know why I came through the fire. Because there's a lot of people in fire. Help them forge into who they need to really be. That tell them that they are not alone. Share it with the world. Your story has so much healing in it for others, not just yourself. Don't keep that shit to yourself. And say, me, Miss Yappy, 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 and then, you put a girl in isolation and lone wolfer, especially one like me that likes to talk. Lord Jesus, she comes out of babbling. Oh, this is what we're talking about today. So I'm going to go back into the chat now because everyone is in here. Oh, my God. Like and oh, dear, dear, dear. Let me see. You look beautiful in your Canadian tuxedo. Yes. Yes. We are all feeling the shift. Absolutely, we are feeling the shift. We are feeling the shift. I am watching on my own phone. Okay? I need a tissue because I don't want boogers to be going in my nose. Let me clean my nose off camera. Leave it to me. I should have had the tissue there because I know me. Gee, give me 2 seconds and start talking, and then the old cancer comes out, and I can't help it. Yeah. Cry easy. Emotions flow. You got the power. We got the power. We got the power. And yeah, I got the power, but we got the power, baby girl. You was a lone wolf for probably 25 years. You need me too. Oh my goodness, I'm telling you right now, I love my listen. I I love my alone time. And in fact, if I don't get it, I start to, it's not good if I don't get my alone time and I don't get my rest. Because I give a lot out there. So I do need it. Woo, 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 woo to you. Roots and waves, Angie, baby. Just over the bay from where the live is. Yes, you were. She's in, my girl, Rain Francis, Spiritual Rain, is in New Brunswick. So that's the awesome thing. I got to talk about that because that's, you know what? I don't want to bypass that story because, in that being a lone wolf, it was a lonely, it is. You keep, I'm pumping it down and as a pump spirit is pumping me up. Okay, I'm saying, where's this? Because my thing is to build a community. And I knew that that community was going to exist of all of Turtle Island, of healers and healing people. And it's beginning to look like what I envisioned and more. Now, going back to that, one day I look and this girl comes up in my video, and that would be Roots and Wave. Well, first of all, the name Roots and Wave, I love that fucking name. It tells me something, that there's some root to that person. And I connected with that right away. And Angie, more than root. Well, as I have come to know that Angie was a connector, that's what I call her. Saw one of my videos, and I don't even know what the video was, but uh, I don't know how it worked. Went to Lexi. Uh, Rain is popping out in one of my comments and saying, "Hey, I'm over here. I'm in New Brunswick." Well, look, it was like the universe was sending me all these people at the same time, and it all happened one video and via one connector. And you know what? The rest has been friggin' history, because what it feels like has been forever. And it's really only been a very small period of time. But you know what? I'm going to tell you, time is a construct of man. And I will tell you this, that I can speak with each and every one of the ladies that I just mentioned right here. Another lifetime. We definitely shared another lifetime. And it was in this lifetime that we were lining up for one another right now. And what merged was a powerful unit of something very, very special that we'll wait because you want to see. And I'll leave that one there, but I just want to give my love and a shout out and say thank you. I am still a lone wolf, and yes, Susie is still lone wolf, and that's right. Susie is still remaining in Windsor. She is still in Windsor. And as she says, on her spiritual journey in lone wolfing up there. So, you know, I want to read your comment. Still looking okay with me. Although I've done a whole lot of healing, there is still much. That's right. Well, it's on a continuum. It's on a continuum. And just when you think that you got something, it's like, damn, where the hell did that come from? I thought I had that. Well, no, you had an angle of that. Now Spirit's going to drag that shit out one more time. One more time. And we're going to get it right. Hilda, you are the second youngest, and maybe not in the beginning, but you are the large and in charge now. You got it. You got it. And yeah. Okay, Sue's, your sister, is definitely large and in charge. Hilda has got the power. Hilda got the power. Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely focused on color until that's right, we didn't focus on color until we started school. You know, that's the thing right there. I did not see color that way until I started school. I'll never forget my first day in school. The very first, oh my God, I'll never forget that. Holy Jesus. Number one, okay, let's not talk about the first day in school. Let's try, oh, I'm having a moment. I'm having a moment. I'm having a moment. You know, that thing they do before preschool, like preschool. That's it. You know, where you go twice a week. Well, back in the day, it was twice a week. It was your introduction to what it was that you would be going into. That is the first time I was ever around a whole bunch of white children. Oh my God. And it was the first time that they was around me. Oh my God. And the other black person was my cousin who was we went to we started at the same time. Andrea Parker. And I freaking didn't know that Andrea was my cousin because she lived in another community. And being as young as I was, now think about it. You only would get together, your parents put you together. And it wasn't like, because her family was a large family like mine. And so her and I end up together at this table, swear to God, because I'm thinking they were all the kids were gathered around in a circle on a mat. And I remember, oh my God, I was just like, I ain't feeling that. And they had these two phones. Andrea Parker, well, if she ever sees this video, she's going to say, yes, you did. You was a great, big, dominant bully. Back in the day, they had these old phones. Now, if everyone on here is going to remember, because you remember we had the doll. Well, and it was the nightstand phone. I guess is that what you call it? It was not the one on the wall. So they had two of these old phones within our play area. And me and my cousin was playing with these two phones. One had still the dial onto it. The other one didn't. Well, the brown one that did not have the dial, I had. My cousin had the one that had the dial. Well, I'm sitting there, and I could see that my cousin was probably a little bit like me, but you know what? I had a little bit more of an edge. You see, after being dominated at home, I kind of dominated that situation. Switched the phones, and I knew she didn't want to. But I'm thinking, I don't want to play with this one that's got no dial. This is the real deal. And I'll never get this at home. We talked about that years later. But my whole point being is that day, that in those days of going into that environment, is where I started to realize that I was different. Now, I want to give you a concept of time. I was born in 1966. And the reason why you'll hear me talk about such issues is because, unbeknownst to me, the world was also going through a great change at that time. My area alone had just done uh, integration. I would have been a part of those integrating kids. So not only was it a oomph for me, but it was an oomph for every school teacher, an oomph for all the kids that I went to school with. And so, um, if there was racism, trust and believe, we experienced it. It was nothing to hear the N word on a daily, or to hear one of my uh, sisters or brothers saying about how they were battling some form of racism. Whether, and even some things with the school teachers, it's just a story that needs to be told, because being the forerunners of that integration, we also impacted a lot of damage and trauma. Trauma. Because you are in an environment of where you're, first of all, you are expected to learn, and you're also in an environment of where you are not accepted. So that in itself, and then you accompany that environment that you're in. They take you out of your environment of where, you know what, at least, my God, you know what, you don't have people looking at you like that, even though you may be dealing with, extreme motherfucking poverty. Extreme poverty. Like, I'm talking, you know what, poverty of the sense that, there is nothing to eat tonight. Going into that environment and then having your ass kicked that way, once again, that's what's forged this motherfucker right here. Because today we say, pull the fuck up. We don't take nothing. But in understanding the context of exactly what was going on at that time. Anyways, powerful, powerful moment. Where are we at? And I think I did tell all the story. So, I don't know. I'm dropping in the chat if you have any questions. I love you too. I love you too. I love all of you. Love, 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 all back at each of you. And I feel it. I feel it. If you have a question for me, now would be the time to ask. Because I didn't even think about that in terms of interaction. I just wanted to come in here and just give you a little juice on who was in front of you. Very first live. And of course, you know what? All my girls show up. All my supportive women in my life at this time have shown up on this live. So that tells you right there that Spirit has a mission for all of us. But Spirit really got a mission for me. And it's making me feel very, very blessed and very, very special. So please drop me a question and I will look. Trauma. Let me see. You too are trauma bounding. Looking back, right? Yep. Plandemic, exactly. Very much a plandemic. I mean, just a clown. They were clowning. Clowning. And that border that they had up there in New Brunswick, I thought, listen, when you've been at the Detroit border or that border, that little makeshift clown shit, oh my shit, let me share a story with you fellas right up in here today before we leave here. Because this is a true motherfucking story. After getting turned around and turned around this one time, it was all about the paper. I got some fucking 20-year-old saying, nope, it won't do. I'm really pissed at this particular point. And they pulled me off and they got me waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. Just wait here. I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. I'm thinking, well, motherfucker, if you turn me around, then you know what? I may as well just keep on going. So I'm going to go, you know what? I'm going to go back to Quebec. Because he ended up back in Quebec, and I'm sick of Quebec. Can I just say that? Sick of Quebec. Well, I would go back, but no, I don't need to go back to Quebec. I was there 8 solid days. So he has me waiting there. And when I tell you I'm waiting there, this is after making that drive for the 8th time. Anyways, I'm going to say maybe you're going on 2 hours. I said, well, when is he fucking coming? Ah, fuck this. I pull out. Well, all of a sudden he wasn't so busy. I pull out and I start my ass on back to Quebec. He pulls out. He comes up at me. Woot, 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 woot. Well, I said, my friend was, oh my God, Hilda. Oh, she was panicking. I fucking start laughing. I pulls the car over. He said, why did you leave? He starts going on. I said, well, you know what? I just said, I thought that you wanted me to go. You mean, you had me sitting there. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. Pull it back. Pull it back. So I let him go through all that shit. But you know what? I was looking at him coming unglued in front of me. And I'm thinking, you really don't have no control. Because now it has to be laughable. Made it through that experience, though. And as you said, pandemic, it was nothing that made sense about any of that. And, unfortunately, many were scarred during that whole experience, unfortunately. But what they didn't know is that they were refining me through the whole experience. And I certainly never ever did look at them like they were gods. Barely could probably hold the dick in their pants, let alone the gun in the holster. Shit. You're finding your voice and use your throat chakra. Yes, I am, baby girl. Yes, I am. Chakras, you got it. And Angie is the connector. Parkers were 18 strong. Oh my God, the Parkers had 18 in their family? Well, it was something like that because you know what I know? That Marjorie Mama was in the hospital all the same time, all the time. Anyways, folks, you know what? I'm not going to make this live anymore. I am going to leave you, but before I do, I am sending you love, peace, healing, good vibration, and hell yes, we got the power. So you take your power, because I know that I think it's Rain and one of you got a lot. One of you got a live that you're going to be floating over to. I thank you for giving me this time. I love you. I love you. I love each and every one of you. I feel you. I felt every one of your hearts. I just feel you anyways. And I know that you know that. And I've had the opportunity to tell each of you on a personal level. And that's pretty cool. Thank you for showing up, supporting your girl. And we are going to say sayonara. No, we're not going to say sayonara. We're going to say bye. What are we going to say? What are we going to say? We're just going to close in, aren't we? Yes, we are. Bye. How do I do this? Oh, there you go. Yes. You sure you want to? Yes.